Ooh, let's save this blue boy real quick. Yo, what's up guys, Goblinu back with another video for you. Today we are on Warden. These are the back bar stats, these are the front bar stats, mostly buffed. It's been a while since we've done something for Warden. Had a ton of people asking, and with the two main setups right now for Warden really being Acuity Acuity Northern Storm Warden and just like Torque Warden, I wanted to kind of do something somewhat in the middle between the two that's extremely viable and well-rounded. In any case, let's just go ahead and get into it. I'm a Breton as always. You can be Imperial, Dark Elf, Orc, whatever you like. Breton's just my favorite. These are my attributes. Now you may be wondering why our health is really low, and we will get into that in a few minutes. Mundus is the lover, stage 3 vamp, and Jules or Zoga for the food. Let's go ahead and just get into what we are running. We are running Torque of the Last Alien King. Now I will quickly just kind of show you my gear pieces, but if you're not familiar with Torque of the Last Alien King, basically it makes all your set items obsolete. It takes all of those set item bonuses and disables them, essentially. So we're running a medium in-pen helmet, heavy in-pen shoulder, reinforced heavy chest, medium in-pen gloves, belt, and boots, heavy reinforced legs. We are running Torque, as I mentioned earlier, infused with a reduced prismatic cost, and then 2 rings infused with weapon and spell damage enchants. And then I have 2 maces, one Nirnhoned, one sharpened. One has a flame and one has a poison. You can make these glyphs whatever. I didn't change them from my other build that was on DK with this. I just left them the same. I didn't really see the point because it already hits very strong as it is. So I just left them. You can go Frost if you want to, but in any case, make them whatever you want. This is what I have. You could probably optimize it a little better for Warden, but like I said, I just saw no point in changing them. And then back bar, we are running a Ice Staff defending with a weapon damage enchant. So first, before we get into all the skills and everything, I just want to mention why we are running such low health, and that's because of this Piercing Cold passive. So anytime we deal frost damage, we're going to gain a buff called Piercing Cold. Now, if you're familiar with the Warden changes, essentially if you have more than 30,000 max health, you're going to increase your block damage by 12%. And if your health is lower than 30,000, you're going to increase your damage done by 8%. So that is the whole point of why we are running it like this. Low health, but what makes up for our lack of a high health pool is the fact that we are running Torque and we gain 15% damage reduction. It's just a super well-rounded mythic. If you're going like a stat-based build, Torque is, I mean, it's basically king in my opinion. It is one of the strongest mythics in the game. I think probably top 3. So in any case, if you're wondering why we have such a low health pool and how we're able to survive and sustain that, it's mostly because 1, we are stage 3 vampire, so we gain 10% mitigation there, depending on how much health we're missing. And 2, we have Torque that's getting us 15% damage reduction. So essentially, we can lower our health pool to gain that 8% damage done, which is huge, and still have the survivability. Now, Torque's also really great because it's going to give us the 500 magic and stamina recovery, and Warden can really struggle with magic recovery or sustain in general. So this helps us build our sustain to kind of acceptable numbers when we have a potion. Let's go ahead and just get into the skills. We are running Arterial Burst. Now, every time we hit this skill, it's going to apply Hemorrhaging status effect, and will deal more damage for us the lower our health is. Super good spammable. I will say if you wanted to, you could absolutely do a Dizzying Swing build with this. I would just replace Arterial with Wrecking Blow, and I would take Whirling Blades off for Executioner. Deep Fissure. We want this morph because 1, it's going to give us not only major breach, but it's also going to give us minor breach. So I don't really see any point in running the other morph. I think this morph is way better. Arctic Blast. Now, I was playing this build and I was using Polar Wind as the main heal. However, I really like this option because we can get basically an AoE stun against people, whoever comes near us. Not only that, but it will be a damaging skill if people are nearby, and if there's no one nearby, it's a heal. If you wanted to, optionally, you could run, forgot where it was. You could run Leashing Knife. Now, what I have on this is essentially the Warden Charm and Off Balance. And if you were to go this route, then you would run the Off Balance CP. And you would just replace that here. However, Arctic Blast is a really nice skill. Not only that, it's going to help us get this Piercing Cold passive that we want. Moving on for our Execute, we're running Whirling Blades. Just a good AoE Execute. We're running Bird of Prey. This is going to give us our Major Expedition. It's also going to give us immunity to snares and immobilizations, and it's going to give us Minor Berserk. So, works perfectly. For our Burst Ulti, Dawnbreaker. Moving on to the back bar, we're running Blue Betty. We want the magic sustain that this one has to offer, so you want to run this and not the stamina one. Lotus Blossom, this is going to be our source of major prophecy and savagery. But not only that, when you do light and heavy attacks, you gain health back from it. It also really doesn't cost that much either, so. Healing Soul for our main burst heal. Now, the reason I went with this instead of Polar, one, we are building high spell damage, high weapon and spell damage. Therefore, Polar Wind does nothing for us since our health pool is not high. Polar Wind is based off of max health, so since we have a low health pool, the heal is essentially crap and we don't want to use it. Which is why instead I went with Healing Soul, because this scales off weapon and spell damage, not your max health. Well, I should say it may scale off your max health. I don't know that for a fact, but what I do know is it scales really well based on weapon and spell damage. Therefore, this is just the better burst heal. Also going to give us 600 magic and stamina each time we cast it, which is good for our sustain. And we have major vitality on this, which is going to increase our healing received. If you were to run a build with more max health, let's say like 36, 37k health, then you would want to run Polar Wind. But I just don't see the point of it if your health is like 30, 32, 33. I think this is just a better option if you have high spell damage. Moving on to Vigor. Bread and Butter, Standard. Ice Fortress. This is going to give us minor protection, and it's going to be our major resolve buff. Now, this is kind of where I said we're mixing sort of a Torque Warden and an Acuity Warden together. Now, the Acuity Warden is going to have more burst than this, but what this has that the Acuity Warden doesn't have is more consistent damage overall. You're not waiting for your Acuity to proc, nothing like that. So when you don't have Acuity with this build, you could still be viable. Not that the Acuity Warden is not. I think that's actually the highest burst damage setup you could probably get on Warden right now. It just absolutely shreds, and I've seen the same with this, although a little bit weaker. However, I still like this option more. I've played both, and I like this option a little more for its well-roundedness. Not only that, this would work insanely well if you have someone in your group that's running Rallying Cry or Powerful Assault. You can see some really high weapon and spell damage numbers, and our penetration is also pretty high as well. So, moving on to champion points, we are running Resilience for crit resist. Since we're not running Rallying Cry or anything, we need crit resist. Duelist rebuff to negate 6% single target damage towards us. Fighting Finesse for crit damage, and Master at Arms for direct damage done. I think everything that we have on our kit is direct damage. Celerity for movement speed. Pain's Refuge, Survival Instincts, and Sustained by Suffering. The only flex spot I'd say is Celerity, in which if you wanted to, you could put any one of these. I like Peace of Mind still. I don't see really a lot of people running it, but while you are under CC immunity, let's say you just got stunned, you're gonna gain a lot of magic recovery and health recovery. Doesn't seem that great just to get like a little boost for maybe like 4 or 5 seconds. However, if you do pop a immovability pot or something like that, you're essentially gaining a lot of recov for a short amount of time, which can just help you stay in the fight if you're 1vxing. Sometimes there's crucial moments where you're like almost dead, and something like this could be really helpful to have that extra influx of magic coming into your kit. But overall, I would probably leave the CP exactly like this. But if you wanted to, the only thing I'd really take off is Celerity. So, in any case, guys, I'm going to get back to some mid-year. And yeah, this build's super fun. I've been wanting to do Warden for a while, but I just didn't want to post the same thing that everyone else is. You know, everyone's just posting Mechanical Acuity, Northern Storm. And although this is kind of similar, it's just a little more well-rounded than that build is. You could probably, if you're a high-tier player, the Acuity Warden is going to do you much better. But if you're just looking to get into Warden and still do extremely well and just have a really well-rounded setup, you can't go wrong with Torque. And as I said, if you wanted to, you could make this a Dizzying Swing build with just a few changes of replacing Arterial Burst with Dizzying Swing and replacing Whirling Blades with Executioner. I'm going to get back into PvP though. I just wanted to record this before I found myself short on time today. In any case, guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Well, getting into the clips, just doing a little commentary. Saw this group of reds out here and just decided, fuck it, I'm going to pull her. See what we can do. And I was actually pretty surprised. You see me take the first 2 down, and then I pick up 2 behind me and 1 right there in front of me. Ultimately, I was able to kind of bomb, so to speak, 5 dudes. Rolling into this one, just had a little skirmish with these guys. I was having tons of fun playing this in sewers, and plus with it being mid-year mayhem right now, there's so many stones to be had. So pretty much just took out those first 2 guys, and then had a little skirmish with this guy for quite some time. He was super tanky. Ultimately, though, we're able to just knock him down at the same time. And it's right about here. Start seeing like 3 guys come in, and I had just spent so much of my sustain stamina-wise. And this was before I put the reduced cost glyph on, and so that lack of sustain just kind of screwed me. Going back into this one, I had just captured this resource, and I had like 1 or 2 yellows with me. This red group came back, and basically we just knocked them down. It was a nice little like 2 or 3 VX that we had, so all in all, pretty fun. Going into this one, there was a few reds over here. One of these guys was following me for a while, and I think these other 2 were his friends. Had killed him previously, so I think they're just trying to get some of their stones back. Quickly knocked down the DK, and then I just have the Sork and the Warden. The Sork is not very good at keeping up his shields, as you can tell, and then it just leaves me and this Warden. He could probably use a better build. Moving on to this next set of clips, just again with some more sewers. Had these reds kind of trying to skirmish me. I think these were the guys, or one of them was the guy from earlier. Took down the DK, Sork's next, and that just equals tankier DK. I saw this dude a ton down here, and he's like a perma-block tank, but it's not even really a good build. So he just ends up getting nuked somewhat fast for what his build is supposed to be doing. Saw this dude just kind of fighting some NPCs, figured I'll knock him down real quick. And then I got in a duel with this Necro in Big Boy. Big Boy is Colossus. If you can't tell, it's just what I call it. Knock him down real quick, and then this dude's running Celine's. That's so old, bro. He just gets nuked. And then I had this DK just kind of running from me. He thinks his ulti's gonna save him. It does not. Shortly after, I'm running away, and I come across this Nightblade who's just hiding for some reason. Moving on, drop this Sork, just kind of showing the burst potential this build has. And then I get this Nightblade ganker who's trying to mess with me. Really, just not up for the challenge. This DK comes up shortly after I kill that Nightblade and Sork. We kind of have a little duel here. And his build was overall not bad, and he wasn't really a bad player, I would say, but I think he could have just done something a lot better. As you see here, I get kind of greedy. I'm not worried about healing at all. I know my execute will take him out, so I just thirst him. Coming across this DK. Just had another little duel with this guy. Kind of getting greedy here with the damage, so I decided, okay, let me swap back to my back bar. And this guy's a little more tough than the people we've been seeing today. But in the end, it was really no challenge at all. Now moving on to this clip, spot these two reds trying to res their boy, although he gets dropped rather fast. This guy starts taking me into the rest of his group, and here you just see me kind of clean them all up. Start getting really greedy with the execute here, and you can see me spamming it so much it's draining my stam. But in any case, we take out all three of those guys with ease, and then that leaves the blue with the one red. And he's just running for his life because he just has no idea what the fuck he just witnessed. And as you can see, the blue and I just kind of go our separate ways, and that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.